The stars outside the station didn't shine much anymore. Taran sat alone in his control room on Outpost 9, a small mining base floating above a dying red planet. Most of the miners had left months ago. Taran had stayed behind to finish repairs, hoping someone would remember him when they needed the station again. He had no one to talk to. Sometimes he spoke to the machines just to hear a voice his own. The silence was deep and heavy. Only the soft hum of systems and the occasional crackle of his old comms unit broke it. Then, one day, everything changed. It started with a signal. A distress beacon, weak, flickering, and very old. Taran adjusted the antenna and tracked it. It was close, falling fast. He rushed to the hangar bay and watched as a small escape pod tumbled through the thin atmosphere. He sent out a drone to guide it in. The pod landed hard. Sparks flew as metal scraped the floor. Taran ran to it with a fire extinguisher. Heart pounding. The door hissed open. Smoke spilled out. Inside, curled up and barely breathing, was a girl. Not human. Her skin was a soft teal color, and her hair floated around her like strands of silk. She had no armor, no weapons, just a simple suit that was torn in places. Her eyes were closed, and her chest rose and fell slowly. Taran froze. He had never seen anyone like her, but she was hurt and alone. He carried her to the med bay. Her body was light, like she was made of something softer than bone and muscle. She didn't wake up, not even when he treated the wounds on her arm and shoulder. "Who are you?" he whispered. She didn't answer. For 3 days, she slept. Taran kept checking on her. He cleaned her wounds, gave her water through a drip, and waited. On the 4th day, she opened her eyes. They were bright, almost too bright, and filled with something he couldn't name. Fear, confusion, maybe both. She sat up slowly. Her hands trembled. When she looked at Taran, she didn't speak. "It's okay," he said gently. "You're safe here." She didn't reply. Instead, she stood and followed him wherever he went. She didn't speak, didn't touch anything, didn't try to leave. Just followed. Taran started calling her Iri, short for Iridia, the name of a lost star mentioned once in a story he liked. "Iri," he said one day, "I don't know where you came from, but I'm glad you're alive." Still, she said nothing, but she watched everything. She watched how he repaired old mining bots, how he cleaned the filters, how he sighed after every meal and looked at the empty chair across the table. She watched and listened, like she was learning. Then, strange things began to happen. One of the older drones, broken for years, started working again. Another system that never read data properly suddenly gave clean reports. And once, when a pipe burst and nearly flooded a hallway, it stopped just before Taran got there. He began to suspect it wasn't luck. One evening, he found Iri in the reactor room, her hands resting on the control panel. The screen, which hadn't lit up in weeks, glowed softly. She stepped back when he entered. "Did you do this?" he asked. She didn't answer, but her eyes looked at him like she wanted to. "I don't know what you are," he said quietly, "but I think you're helping me." That night, he sent a message to Earth. He told them about the crash, about Iri, about how she was peaceful and intelligent. He asked for guidance. No answer came. A week passed. Taran got used to her silence. Sometimes he talked aloud, just for her to hear, you know? He said once as they fixed a vent system together, "I came here to escape noise. Thought I liked being alone. Guess I was wrong." Iri paused, then looked at him. And for the first time, she spoke. Her voice was soft and clear, with a strange musical tone. She said just 5 words. "I followed you because..." Then she stepped forward and hugged him. She wrapped her arms around his neck and held on gently, like she was afraid he'd disappear. Taran didn't move for a moment. He felt his breath catch. Her skin was cool, but her hug was warm, real. He waited for her to say more, but she didn't. She just stayed like that, quiet, calm, safe. Taran closed his eyes. For the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. Rion woke up to the sound of morning wind moving through the tall trees. The sky was painted with soft orange and purple, and the alien camp was beginning to stir. He sat up slowly and stretched his arms, His bed was nothing more than dry leaves and a blanket made of rough fabric, but it was better than cold stone. He looked around. The camp was still quiet. A few aliens moved between tents and stone buildings. They didn't speak to him, but they didn't ignore him either. They glanced. His way watchful, uncertain, curious. Alari stood near a table, speaking to an older warrior. Her back was straight, her arms crossed. She looked serious, as always. Rian didn't understand her words, but her tone was strong and sharp. He rubbed his hands together. Another day in the unknown, he whispered to himself. He stood up and walked toward the edge of the camp, careful not to go too far. He didn't want to give anyone the wrong idea. He wasn't a prisoner exactly, but he wasn't free to wander either. A young alien child approached him, holding a broken toy in her hands. It was made of metal and wood, with small spinning parts. She held it out shyly. Rian smiled and crouched down. "Hey there, want me to fix it?" The child didn't understand his words, but she handed him the toy. He turned it in his hands, found the loose piece, and tightened it using a small tool from his backpack. When he gave it back, the child pressed a button and watched it spin. Again, her eyes lit up. She ran back to her family, shouting in their language. They looked surprised but pleased. From across the camp, Alari saw the moment. She watched Rian silently, her expression unreadable. Later that day, one of the camp's cooking devices stopped working. A crowd formed around it. Alari stepped forward and gave an order, but no one moved. Rian watched from a distance, then slowly approached. He pointed to the machine, then to himself. "Can I help?" Alari looked at him for a long moment, then stepped aside. Rian opened the panel, checked the wiring, and adjusted the heat coil. Within minutes, the soft hum returned. The device worked again. The aliens murmured to each other. A few nodded in approval. One of them, an older man with a scar across his cheek, stepped forward and placed his hand on Rian's shoulder for a moment. It was a silent thanks. Alari spoke to Rian in her native tongue. He didn't understand the words, but her tone was softer now, not sharp like before. She pointed to the machine and made a motion. "Like good or fixed," Rian smiled. "Glad I could help." As the sun began to set, Rian sat near the central fire. He watched the glowing insects float through the air like stars. The camp was peaceful. Warriors sharpened their weapons, children played with simple tools, and older ones told stories in low voices. Alari walked over and sat a few feet from him. She didn't speak. She just stared into the fire. After a moment, Rian said, "Your people are strong, but they're also kind. I didn't expect that." She looked at him and tilted her head slightly. "Strong, kind," she repeated slowly. He nodded. "Yes, both." She didn't answer, but her eyes stayed on him longer this time. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the trees. A tree had fallen nearby. The camp turned alert in an instant. Warriors grabbed weapons. Alari stood up quickly. Rian followed her as she moved toward the noise. They found a damaged energy tower on the edge of the camp. It had collapsed and blocked the path to the river. Water was needed for cooking and cleaning, and now it was cut off. Alari gave orders. Several aliens tried to lift the heavy tower, but it was stuck between rocks. Rian stepped forward. "Wait, if we remove the side panel and disconnect the power core, it'll be lighter. Then you can lift it." Alari frowned. "Show." He nodded and walked to the tower. Using his tools, he opened the panel and removed the glowing power unit. The weight shifted. Two warriors pushed, and the tower rolled off the rocks. Cheers broke out around them. Alari looked at Rian. Impressed. "Smart," she said. He shrugged. "Just experience." She studied him for a moment, then asked, "Why help us? You, not one of us." Rian looked at her, then around at the people smiling and nodding at him. He replied, "Because I'm not here to harm. I'm here to learn, and maybe to be part of something better." Alari didn't respond right away, but she didn't walk away either. That night, the elder of the camp invited Rian to sit with them during a meal. It was a small sign, but an important one. They were starting to accept him. As Rian ate the unfamiliar but warm food, He caught Alari looking at him from across the fire. Her face was serious, but her eyes held something new something. Softer dot she turned away quickly, but the moment stayed with him. 3 days had passed since Rian had fixed the river tower. The camp had changed. The people no longer stared at him like a stranger. Some nodded when they walked by. A few even tried to speak simple words in his language. Rian still didn't understand their full language. But the silence between them now felt less cold and more like quiet respect. He spent his mornings helping the builders repair tools and energy panels. In the afternoons, he sat with the children, showing them how to shape small objects from soft metal. The children laughed when he made strange shapes, and their laughter brought smiles to even the oldest warriors. Alari watched everything from a distance. She had been trained never to trust too quickly. Her world was one of discipline and control. But each time she saw Rian help someone without asking for anything in return, a question grew louder inside her. Why is he different? That evening, the sky turned dark faster than usual. Thick clouds rolled in from the east, and wind began to howl through the trees. The scent of something strange hung in the air like burning metal. In ozone dot, the camp grew tense dot. The elder walked out of his tent and looked up. Fire sky, he said, using the few human words he had learned. Rian followed his gaze. Above them, bright orange streaks lit the sky, falling fast like comets. Then he saw a piece of burning debris breaking through the atmosphere. It wasn't from his ship. It looked newer, cleaner, and more dangerous. That's not natural, Rian said quietly. Suddenly, one of the debris pieces hit the ground near the edge of the forest. A loud explosion shook the earth. Dust and light burst into the air. Birds fled the trees. The camp sprang into action. Alari shouted orders. Warriors grabbed weapons. The energy towers were turned to full charge. The guards ran to the eastern cliffs to see what had fallen. Rian grabbed his pack and followed Alari. When they reached the crash site, they found something strange. It wasn't a full ship. It looked like a metal pod, a scanner drone of some kind, not from this world. Its sleek body glowed with strange red lines, and small arms were still twitching. What is it? Alari asked. Rian knelt beside it. It's a scout, not human. I've seen machines like this in old reports. They come first, before the real threat arrives. As if to prove his words, the drone's lights turned red. A voice in a strange robotic language echoed from its speaker. Then, without warning, it exploded. The blast knocked several warriors back. Rian shielded his face. Alari was thrown to the ground, but quickly got back on her feet. Her cheek was cut, and a thin line of green blood ran down. Rian ran to her. You're hurt. I'm fine, she said sharply, standing tall. He reached toward her, but she pushed his hand away. This is my world. I lead here. Rian stepped back. I didn't mean to offend. I just care. Alari looked at him, confused. No one had ever said that to her before. Her people did not use such words, not in war, not in peace. They returned to the camp quickly. That night, more drones fell, some burning in the sky, others landing far away. The elders gathered in the meeting tent. Rian was invited to join. He told them everything he knew. This is a test. Someone is scanning this planet. They want to know if it's weak or strong. If you don't defend yourselves now, more will come. Bigger ships, soldiers. Alari stood beside him, her voice firm. We fight. We do not run. The elder nodded slowly. Then we prepare. The next day was busy. Warriors trained harder. Builders strengthened the barriers. Rian helped connect the energy shields to the power grid. He even built small motion sensors from his old ship's parts and placed them near the forest line. That afternoon, a storm rolled in. Wind and rain came with force. The sensors beeped. The enemy had arrived. Metal creatures moved through the forest, tall, spider-like machines with red lights for eyes. They fired electric beams, burning trees and melting stone. The camp fought back. Rian stayed close to the energy core, keeping systems online. Alari led the front lines, her spear glowing with energy. She moved like a flame, sharp, fast, untouchable. But then, a machine broke through and rushed toward the energy tower. Rian saw it too late. He tried to run, but the machine jumped, aiming for the core. Alari saw it and screamed, "Rian, move!" She charged forward and threw her spear. It hit the machine's chest, but not deep enough. The machine grabbed her and slammed her into the ground. Rian didn't think. He grabbed a metal rod, ran forward, and jammed it into the machine's exposed panel. Sparks flew. The machine twitched, then collapsed. Rian fell beside Alari, gasping. She coughed and sat up, staring at him. "You're not a warrior," she said, almost angry. "Why risk your life?" He looked at her, face dirty, clothes torn. "Because," he said softly, "you're beautiful when angry." Alari froze. The camp was quiet now. The machines were gone. For now, smoke rose in the distance. The rain stopped. Only the firelight and Rian's quiet words remained. Alari looked at him. Her heart beat faster. She didn't know what to say, but for the first time in her life, she felt warmth not from battle, but from something deeper. She turned her face slightly, hiding a small smile. The camp was quiet again. Smoke no longer filled the sky, and the forest had returned to its normal rhythm. Birds sang, and soft winds moved through the trees. But even in this peaceful moment, Rian could feel something had changed. The enemy had tested them, and now the whole camp understood what Rian had warned about. Real danger had arrived. Repairs began the next morning. The damaged energy tower was lifted, broken walls were patched, and guards took shifts at every corner. Everyone worked together. Even the children helped carry stones or clean tools. Rian walked slowly through the camp, his body sore from the battle. His hands were covered in cuts and dirt, but he didn't complain. He had seen real warriors in action, and now he felt proud to stand beside them. Alari stood on the outer wall, her eyes watching the forest. She didn't speak much that morning. Her face was calm, but her thoughts were far away. Rian climbed up to her slowly. "You okay?" She gave a small nod. "I've been through worse." He looked at her for a moment. "You saved me. Again." "You saved me too," she said without turning. They stood side by side for a while. The wind moved gently, carrying the scent of trees and distant flowers. Then Alari spoke again, her voice low. "You asked me why I don't trust easily. Maybe now I should tell you." Rian stayed quiet. He didn't want to interrupt. Alari took a deep breath and looked out toward the mountains. "When I was young, my world was different. My people believed we were safe, strong. We trained every day. We fought among ourselves for sport and skill. But one day, a ship came from the stars." Rian listened carefully. "They came in peace, or so they said. They looked weak. They spoke sweet words. We let them in. We shared food, stories, even technology." Her voice grew harder. "Then one night, they attacked. Not just soldiers, machines, bombs, poison air. They studied us first, just like those drones. They used what? They learned to hurt us where it mattered most." Rian looked down. "You lost people." She nodded. "I lost my brother. He was kind to kind. He believed in peace." Her fingers tightened on the edge of the wall. "Since then, I trust only what I see with my eyes. Words mean nothing." Rian understood. "And now you see me, trying to help, but still, you don't know if you can believe it." Alari looked at him for the first time that morning. Her silver eyes were softer now. "You confuse me, Rian. You are not strong like my people. You don't carry weapons, but you are brave in your own way. You don't give orders, yet people follow you." Rian smiled slightly. "Maybe strength looks different where I come from." She didn't smile back, but she didn't look away either. They stood in silence again. This time more peaceful. Later, Alari took him to a quiet place beyond the camp. It was a small cliffside with glowing flowers and a stream of clear water. Birds with colorful wings flew above, and the sky was open and wide. "This is where I come when I want to think," she said. "No one else knows." Rian looked around. "It's beautiful." Alari sat on a stone and took off her armor. For the first time, Rian saw her without it. She looked calm, still strong but softer. Her teal skin shimmered in the light of the setting sun. "Why did you come here?" she asked. "Earth sent me to explore." to learn, maybe even to meet other life forms. We didn't know someone like you lived here. And now that you've met us, Rian sat beside her. I'm glad I did, even if it started with a spear. In my face. Alari let out a short laugh. It was quiet but real. Rian looked at her carefully. Do you still see me as just a weak outsider? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached into a small pouch and took out a flat stone. It had a symbol on it to hands reaching toward a star. My brother carved this before he died. He said every star could carry hope. She handed it to Rian. He held it gently. Thank you. That doesn't mean I fully trust you, she said quickly. I know, but maybe I want to try. Rian nodded. Trying is enough. As the sun dipped below the trees, the two sat quietly by the stream. The air was cool. The stars above began to appear one by one. For the first time since Ren had crashed on this world. He didn't feel like a visitor. He felt like someone who belonged, and somewhere inside Alari's guarded heart, something new had begun, a small warmth she couldn't explain. The boundless ship was gone, but the sky didn't feel safe. Tarin watched the scanners carefully. Each beat made his heart beat a little faster, though the danger had passed for now. He knew it wasn't the end. The quiet after the storm sometimes felt heavier than the storm itself. Iri stood by the large window near the control room. She didn't speak. Her teal eyes followed the stars, as if searching for something far away. You think they'll come back soon? Tarin asked. Yes, she replied. They are slow, but they do not stop. Tarin sat beside her, tired but awake. He had slept only a few hours since the explosion. Then we need to be ready. Next time, maybe we can warn Earth in time. Iri turned to him. Do you still think they will believe? He gave a small laugh. I don't know, but we'll try. That's what humans do. We keep trying. She looked at him a long time, then spoke softly. That is why I followed you. Tarin looked up. You keep saying that you followed me. Why? What made you choose me? Iri walked over to the table and touched the surface. A small screen opened, glowing softly. An old voice recording. Play Tarin's voice from over a year ago. If anyone's out there, we're still here. I'm still here. Alone. But alive. If you need help, this station is room. I'll wait. Tarin stared at it. He had forgotten that message. He had sent it out when the station first shut down. No one answered, and he thought no one ever heard it. But Iri had. I was part of a ship. She said slowly. A quiet ship. We watched other worlds. We recorded life, but never touched it. That was our way. You were explorers? She nodded. Yes, but not like you. We stayed hidden. We believed it was not right to change the story of others. We only watch. Tarin listened carefully. One day, we passed Earth. Iri continued. Your world was full of noise. So many voices. Most were angry or afraid. But your voice, it was quiet and kind. Tarin lowered his head, remembering those lonely days. You weren't asking for power. You weren't shouting. You were just hoping someone would listen. That made me wonder if maybe helping was not a bad thing. She sat down across from him. I left the ship without permission. They told me not to, but I wanted to see for myself. I wanted to know the voice that asked nothing, but still offered everything. Tarin was silent. He never thought anyone, let alone someone from beyond the stars, would hear his message, much less be changed by it. I followed the signal, she said, but my pod was damaged. I lost most of my memory during the fall. I didn't even know who I was until now. And now, Tarin asked gently. I remember, she said. My name was forgotten, but I remember why I came. I followed your voice, because it was the first voice that made me feel hope. Tarin looked down, unsure what to say. His eyes burned a little, but he blinked the feeling away. I was nothing special, he said quietly, just a tired man talking to stars. But your words gave life. Iri said, that is not nothing. For a while, they sat without speaking. Outside, the stars moved slowly across the black sky. Then Iri stood up. There is something else, she said. Something I have not told you. Tarin raised an eyebrow. What is it? I'm not just connected to machines, she said. I am part machine. He blinked. What do you mean? My people are not only living, she explained. We are part of the systems we build. We grow with them. That is why I can hear machines. Feel their pain. Heal them. Tarin stood up slowly. So, you're more like this station than like me. She paused, then smiled softly. I don't know. Maybe I'm between both. Tarin stepped forward. Then that's what makes you special. Her smile grew a little. And you? He chuckled. I'm just a human who talks too much to the stars. They both laughed quietly. That evening, they worked together to repair the rest of the station. More systems came online: defense shields, communication lines, even the old drone launcher. The station was becoming something new now. No longer just a mining base. It was a watchtower, a quiet guardian in a forgotten corner of space. Later, as they looked at the stars, Tarin asked, what if the Boundless return with more ships? Eerie looked at him calmly. Then we fight with more than machines. Tarin tilted his head. What do you mean? With belief, she said. You believed in someone you had never met. That belief gave me a path. Now we give that to others. You think there are others like you out there? He asked. She nodded. Yes, and they are watching. Like I once did. Tarin smiled. Then let's give them something to see. As night passed into quiet morning, Tarin sat by the comms panel and began a new message. This is Outpost 9. We face something impossible. We're still here. And if you're out there, if you're listening, you're not alone. He looked at Eerie. She gave a small nod. They will hear. Then she stepped forward and for the second time, wrapped her arms round his neck. She didn't speak this time. She didn't need to. Outpost 9 was still standing. The Boundless had left, but more than that, humanity had stood up, and others had answered the call. Tarin stood at the top of the station's outer deck, looking into the black sky. The stars looked clearer now, not because they had changed, but because something inside him had. He wasn't alone anymore. Small human ships floated nearby, shining like dots of hope in the dark. They had come after receiving his signal, people from old colonies, quiet research stations, and distant mining bases. They weren't soldiers, but they came to help. Some just brought power cores. Some sent messages of support. One tiny scout ship brought food and supplies. Each one was a reminder. Someone had listened. Tarin touched his old radio and smiled. Well, stars. Maybe I wasn't just talking to myself after all. Eerie stepped beside him. She was quiet, as always, but calm. The glow in her skin had dimmed a little since the battle. She looked tired but peaceful. They came because of you, she said. No, Tarin replied, looking at her. They came because we made them believe. She gave a small smile. That is the same. They walked through the station together. Everywhere they looked, things were alive again. Defense bots were helping rebuild broken panels. Old machines, once rusted and forgotten, now moved with purpose. The walls, once cold and silent, hummed softly with power. Outpost 9 was no longer just a place. It had become a symbol. Eerie paused at the main control room. I want to send a message, she said. Tarin nodded. Go ahead. She walked to the console and placed her hand on it. A soft light surrounded her. Her voice flowed into the system. To those who listen, we were silent once, watching from the shadows. We believed helping others was a mistake. But then we heard a voice, not loud, not powerful, but kind. And that voice gave us reason to believe again. If you are afraid, you are not alone. If you are lost, you can still choose a path. The Boundless fears something they cannot touch: hope. And that hope lives in humans. If you are out there, come forward. Stand with us. The spark has already begun. Tarin listened with a full heart. That was beautiful, he said. Eerie looked at him. They will hear. Like I did. He nodded slowly. Maybe now, we're not just protecting Earth. Maybe we're protecting everyone. Over the next few days, ships came and went. No new attack came. But no one relaxed either. Everyone worked. Everyone shared. They turned the station into more than just a shield. It became a signal post. From there, Messages of warning and hope spread across the stars. Outposts started waking up. Colonies began preparing. Some sent supplies. Some offered to connect defense. Systems together. No central order. No army. Just people standing because someone else stood first. One night, Tarin found Eri in the observation room, staring at the stars again. "I wonder where your ship is now," he said softly. She nodded. "Far. Still watching? Maybe they heard my voice too. Do you want to go back to them?" Eri was quiet for a long moment. "I came here because I felt something they had forgotten." She looked at him. "I found it here." He looked into her eyes. "And if they come back, if the Boundless return again, we will be ready," she said, "because this time, we're not just two people anymore." He smiled. "You're right. We started something bigger than us." Then, for the last time that night, they stood side by side, watching the stars. She leaned gently toward him and spoke softly, almost a whisper. "I followed you because I needed to believe in something again." And once again, she hugged him, arms around his neck. No more words. She didn't need to finish her sentence, because in that moment, both of them knew the truth. They had changed each other. They had changed. The story. And now, that story was reaching every corner of the sky. The days passed quietly, but the silence was not peaceful. Tarin and Eri both knew the Boundless would return. It was only a matter of time. The strange black ship had left, but it had not forgotten. It was watching from the edge of space, waiting to strike again, but this time, stronger. Tarin looked at the screen every day, checking the skies. He repaired broken bots, fixed power lines, and reinforced doors. He didn't rest much. Neither did Eri. She worked beside him, sometimes speaking, sometimes silent. She walked through the station like it was part of her, wherever she placed her hands. Systems lit up. The station had become more alive with her touch. They were not alone anymore. Either. Tarin's message had gone out across the stars. A few replies came back. One was from a ship near Mars. Another came from a hidden science base orbiting Saturn. The people there didn't believe everything, but they listened. That was enough. Still, Earth Command gave no response. Tarin wasn't surprised. They would act only when they saw the danger with their own eyes. But danger was already on its way. One morning, the long-range scanner beeped. A new Boundless ship entered the system. This one was bigger than the last, and behind it, smaller. Ships followed. Drones, fighters, silent, dark, and cold. "They're here," Tarin said. Eri stood beside him, calm. "Then we begin." Tarin took a breath. "Let's wake the station, together." They sent power through the hidden systems ones even the station builders didn't know existed. The walls shifted. New doors unlocked. Energy shields lit up. Around the outer shell, defense bots rolled into place. The small mining station had become a shield of light in the dark. But they were still just two people. "We need more hands," Tarin said. Eri nodded. "Let me show you something." She led him to the lower deck, a section sealed long ago. With her touch, the heavy door opened. Inside were old service bots, hundreds of them. Some were rusted, some barely held together. All were asleep. Eri walked through them and placed her hand on the floor. A soft sound filled the room, a hum, like a song without words. One by one, the bots opened their eyes, small glowing lights blinking to life. Tarin stared. "You woke them all." "They remember purpose," Eri said. "They only needed someone to remind them." Tarin gave a slow nod. "Let's give them something to do." Together, they trained the bots to build defense walls, install shield panels, and carry weapons where needed. Tarin worked faster than ever, leaving them like a captain leading a tiny army. And they were ready just in time. The Boundless descended. Dark ships dropped through space like falling stones. They didn't send messages. They didn't speak. They came only to destroy. The first wave hit the station's outer shields. The walls shook, but they held. Tarin ran from station to station, checking power, recharging shields, repairing breaks. Eri stayed at the core, connected directly to the station's systems. Her energy flowed through wires and lights like living lightning. She was part of the station now. Tarin, Her voice echoed through the speakers. They are testing our walls. They'll hit harder next time, Tarin replied, sweating. Let them. We're not moving. Another wave came faster, stronger. Missiles slammed into the outer layer. 2 bots were destroyed. 1 door broke. But the humans fought back. Old mining lasers now turned into weapons. Fired at the black drones. Drones exploded in flashes of light. Some fell back. The Boundless paused. They didn't expect us to fight, Tarin said, out of breath. They see us as small, Eerie said. Through the comms. They forgot the small can stand. The third wave began now. The Boundless sent more ships, smaller crafts, trying to land on the station. One broke through the shield and landed on the roof. Tarin climbed up with a small team of defense bots. He faced the craft as it opened. Inside stood something tall and gray, shaped like a person but made of metal and mist. Its eyes glowed red. Tarin aimed the tool weapon Eerie had built for him. You're not welcome here. The creature stepped forward. Silent, Tarin fired. The light from the weapon struck the metal body. The creature staggered, then fell. The bots beside Tarin rushed forward and pushed it off the roof. He looked up at the stars. More were coming. Back inside, Eerie glowed with light. Her body was floating above the station's core. She was fully connected now. Tarin, she whispered. They are afraid. Afraid, he said, running to the control room. Double quotes, yes. They do not understand why we are still standing. He smiled. Let's give them more reasons to fear. Eerie sent out a final wave of energy. The station pulsed. Lights turned blue. All systems reached full power. Tarin watched as their small army of bots formed a wall. Then, something unexpected happened. Other voices came through the comms. We received your message. We're near. Help is coming. We see your fight. We are on our way. One by one, small human ships began to appear on the radar. They had come. They had listened. The Boundless ships paused again. They hovered, and then turned. Retreat. Tarin stared in disbelief. They're pulling back. They fear the spark, Eerie said. Because it spreads. Tarin dropped into his chair, exhausted. We did it. Eerie disconnected from the system. Slowly, her glow dimmed. She stepped toward him, tired but smiling. You stood, she said. We stood. He corrected. Outside, the stars were the same, but something had changed. The smallest voice in the galaxy had called out, and the stars had answered.